Let's stay on national conversation. This time we're talking national security. Bringing our guest, Yahuza Getso is an intelligence and security consultant, joining us virtually, as well as Captain Bishop Johnson, retired U.S. Army veteran. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Captain, let me come to you before I go to Mr. Getso, who has...
Good morning.
Mr. Getso, I'll come to you in just a moment for your insight as to what we're dealing with. It is no longer news that these bandits or these terrorists, whichever name we choose to call them, but I choose to call all of them terrorists in that sense, have demonstrated to the state that they are up for this battle for as long as it lasts. We heard the president the other day during the fast talking about the fact that we will not surrender to terror. And that is because of the pressure that these terrorists are putting on us as a country, literally assault on the state. Captain Bush, when you look at the numbers in terms of death toll from 2025, in fact, in 2024, the numbers were a bit tapered. In 2024, the numbers were a bit tapered. In 2025, it escalated and keeps escalating even further. Now, military bases, forward bases are being attacked. We're beginning to have, or we've been having what you call wartime numbers in times when we don't have real war. At least it's asymmetric in this sense. From where you sit and what you know, what are we not doing well? Are we just talking without acting, or the intelligence is not sufficient, or our capacity is inadequate, or the men are poorly motivated? What exactly is happening?
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for having me. I think it's a combination of all the things that you have so eloquently stated. We're ill-equipped, we're ill-prepared. We have not really sit down and taken some time to try to understand what is happening to us. What are the remote causes? What are the immediate causes? Who is involved? If you look at what is going on in northern Nigeria with respect to these bandits and terrorists, which you rightly pointed out, I have long stated that they're terrorists. You will discover that it's a combination of factors, right? We have a very porous border where you have all these poor militant Islamic countries that are surrounding Nigeria, and you have people pouring in from those countries to a place they consider El Dorado, just like those in Latin America consider the United States El Dorado, and the place that when they get there, their life will change. This is how Nigeria is viewed in these countries, right? If you come into Nigeria and you are able to kidnap people, they'll pay you ransom, and your life and the lives of your whole entire family is changed. So you have people, you have their top government officials, you have business people, all of them are partaking in this commercialized criminal enterprise. So you have a porous border. You also have mineral resources that all of them are all after, including some foreigners who are providing them with the technical expertise to mine all these mineral resources. And all of them have come together with the host communities, some of them, to create this upheaval of insecurity around these mineral sites. What is driving this banditry in northern Nigeria is Nigeria's mineral resources. And so the kidnappings you see is a diversionary tactic for us to focus on banditry, while some individuals are busy mining our mineral resources without following legal framework, without the state benefiting from the mineral resources that he has been endowed with. So anywhere you have illicit mining or illicit crude oil production, whatever it is, anywhere that is illicit anything, you can look to Mexico and Colombia and see what is happening there, because they have all these illicit things as well. So anyway, you have these illicit activities, there's always going to be insecurity in those areas because the major actors will all be battling for control of territory, who is in charge of this and who is in charge of where. And so in so doing, they will create this atmosphere of insecurity. Unfortunately, our country has not really been prepared to deal with it. We've been dealing with it in a haphazard manner. We respond, we withdraw, we pull back, we go forward, and we just been dealing with this thing in a very haphazard manner. For us to curtail this thing, we have to look at this problem holistically. Start from the border and work our way back into the country. Eliminate external factors so that we know those who are within our country who are terrorizing us. And then we can adequately deal with the internal factors at the same time.
Okay, so let me come to you. I'm actually looking at the data by Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project. I'm trying to get to that particular data they talked about in Benin Republic, in Niger and Nigeria borderlines, looking at the militant violence and resulting death spikes. So I'm looking here from 2022 all the way to 2025. It's gone up by almost 200%. Number of attacks gone up by almost 1,000%. Those are the numbers. So if you look at from 300 to like 1,000, okay, that should be about 700 or so percent. So you can see the report was trying to triangle Benin Republic, Niger, and Nigeria borderlines in trying to find out why these expansionist tendencies by this militant group continue to persist. Where I'm going to with my question, the other day we saw 100 boots on the ground from the United States based on the back and forth over genocide or no genocide. But it looks like, and when questions were asked, are they coming to be engaging, the fight itself? They said, no, it's just equipment and training. But has that really changed anything? Because we're still seeing escalation. Abductions happened the other day in Borno State where about 300 children, women, and all of that were taken away. Mr. Getzel, that's for you.
Yes, good morning once again. The reality is, yes, of course, the trajectory of the security challenges that we have in the country have a lot of influence or factorial influence related to our neighborhood, the border between Nigeria and Niger, the border between Nigeria and Benin, Nigeria and Cameroon, Nigeria and Chad, and even by extension, even the far countries that Nigeria have a trans-Saharan trade activity. Yeah, yes, of course, we may have the equipment and gadgets, but the question is, are we really holding ourselves accountable and holding our personnel accountable and responsible for utilizing those equipment and so on and so forth? And what efforts are we making in order to checkmate the activities of Trans-Sahara trade activities, the forest border as discussed by Bishop, and looking inwards, who are really, yes, of course, the only area that I may have a little disagreement with Bishop is the fact that Nigeria have not known the root cause analysis. We know the root cause. We know who are the guys, and Nigeria have the capacity and ability to deal with the situation. But intentionally, we are refusing as a country to address the key issues inward and the key issues related to our bilateral relation, and also the key issues of identifying and addressing and checkmating the border activities, as well as looking into the logistics activities. Because when you look at many of the arguments from some of the personnel that were the information was generated from some of the personnel in the field, is the fact that they're not being even provided with the right logistics and equipment, even though Nigeria may have those things, even though the commands and units may have those gadgets and equipment, but they are not being provided. So as far as I'm concerned, there is a very good relationship. When you look at the total number that are being killed, either the personnel, when you look at the northeastern part of the country, the focus of the criminals are now changing the outlook of their operations, whereby they are focusing on institutional attack as well as the community displacement. When you look at the north central and northwestern part of the country, the Lakurawa are focusing on institutional attack, whereby they are trying to dismantle the custom base, the immigration base, the police station, divisional police stations, and so on and so forth, even though there are a lot of facts and evidence based that those Lakurawa are providing support to some of the illegal miners among the Chinese and so on and so forth. If you take the case of Kebbi local government in Sokoto State, neighboring 4 local governments of Kebbi State, that of Bagudu, Kokobese, Meyema, and Jiga, those 4 political wards at the eastern part of the southern part of Kebbi local government of Sokoto State, and looking at all the other activities of the criminals here and there, you realize that these criminals, even though some of the borders that we consider as a silent borders, that is looking at the many major markets of Jigawa and some other states that we feel they are peaceful, those borders are really contributing seriously into the influx of arms and ammunition and other illegal activities. So looking at all these things, we can say that we have a combined challenges that we are intentionally refusing to address. It's not that we don't know the problem. It's not that we don't have the intelligence. It is not that we don't have the right information. It's not that we don't have the right personnel. Yes, of course, we may not have adequate number, but the number we have can perform and can do wonders if at all we are checkmating and holding people accountable and responsible for what they are assigned for or the responsibility they are shoulders on them. But because of our inability to check the system, our inability to hold people accountable, our inability to handle complicit and compromises and corrupt practices within the cycle, and our inability to, our incapability or undermining the contribution and the attributes of our forest border, negligence in handling those issues, even those we have found wanting, we have not been able to handle them well, so that could have served as a deterrence for others to learn their lessons. Yes, of course, our military are doing very well. I commend them. Yeah, I saw them. I know I have been.
Before we begin to commend them, there's a whole lot of work to be done, Dr. Getso, because it appears as if we're getting fatigued by the numbers. There is no more alarm, that is, responding to these numbers. When we hear 100 women kidnapped in Goshe, Borno, 25 were killed in Adamawa, 100 were killed in Woro, it appears as if it's being normalized. But you have highlighted a very important pattern of attacks by Lakurawa, and we hope that the security agents are taking note of this and strategizing accordingly. But let me come to you now, Captain Bish. You were talking earlier about acting based on what we know. And speaking of what we know, the very popular Sheikh Hamad Gumi, in a most recent interview, is telling Nigerians that the Nigerian government knows the terrorists by name and by location. And when he goes to interact with the bandits, he doesn't go alone. He goes with security agents, and I believe he mentioned the police and the military. Now, don't forget that this is the same Sheikh Hamad Gumi that under this current administration was said to have been invited for questioning. I believe the Minister of Information said at that time that no one is above the law. How are you processing this revelation by Sheikh Hamad Gumi? And based on the invitation that the administration extended to him in 2024, what questions should we be asking the federal government?
Okay, yeah, let me first and foremost correct one thing that my co-panelists had raised. Now, when I talked about the remote cause of this problem, it's not that the government doesn't know about the remote or the root cause of this problem, but the thing is that they are not dealing with those root and the remote causes. We've only been doing taking reactionary measures. Anytime people are kidnapped, we go and negotiate for their release. If we hear there's an ongoing attack, we go and respond. We're not preempting these things the way we are supposed to preempt them. And apart from that, I agree with almost every other thing that he has said. Now, let me come to the question that you just asked now. You see, Gumi is not the first person who has admitted to the fact that the government is aware of all these people. When the Erufai was the former governor of Kaduna State, he also mentioned that they know these people. And even after that, there have been some government officials, even in this present administration, that have admitted that they know these people. And since this government has been on board, there has been negotiations that led to release of people who were kidnapped. So such negotiations cannot go on successfully without knowing who was responsible for the kidnapping. So it's not that we don't know the people behind this problem. The thing is that we have been ill-prepared, or either intentionally, as my co-panelists have said, complicit in trying to deal with this problem. Maybe because of the people behind it. It could be the most powerful people in the country, probably more powerful than the president, that we have not been able to deal with them. Now, I take contrary position on those who are calling for this Gumi guy to be arrested, to be prosecuted. I don't think that that's what we need to do with him. I think what we need to do with him is what the government has done with him. Invite him in so that maybe he can provide us more intelligence information. He has been very, very unequivocal that the government knows the people behind these attacks. And I can't agree any less with him. The government cannot say they don't know these people. If they don't know these people, so why do we have all these intelligence agencies in our country? What is their job? What's the job of the DSS? What are the jobs of the NIA? How is it that these people can be carrying out these attacks successfully on regular basis, and these intelligence agencies don't know about them or haven't done anything or taken any measure to identify who and who is behind all these attacks? I would find it very, very difficult to believe, and I know that most Nigerians will also find it very, very difficult to believe that we have not been able to identify this group of people that have continued to terrorize our country for nearly 2 decades now. It's not possible. So the government knows them.
But
they know how to locate them.
Captain
Yes.
Fish, if you say that we shouldn't, you disagree with those calling for his arrest, isn't there a danger in that, seen in normalizing relations with bandits, normalizing interaction with bandits? These are bandits who are responsible for killing, maiming, throwing families into sorrows. They are the ones responsible directly and indirectly for the state of displacement that we have. So isn't there a danger in a subtle endorsement for the lifestyle and the heinous evil trade of the bandits?
The man is a Nigerian citizen. He is entitled to every right and privileges that are enjoyed by every other Nigerian citizen. That is his own opinion, his freedom of expression. It doesn't mean that the government must grant amnesty to bandits. The area I am coming from is that this man has a lot of intelligence information on these bandits. And so instead of throwing him into jail, I think that the best thing we have to do is to get that intelligence information from him. These are how intelligence agencies work. I was a member, I was a military intelligence officer. If you get a lead or there is somebody, you know, even if the CIA does that, they recruit the baddest of the society to work with them so that they will be able to use them to take down some other people. They will help you and give you all the intelligence information. That
Captain, if I may comment.
Yes.
My apologies because of time. Let's get to Mr. Getso so can get his word in before we go. My concern is about policy posturing and direction, Mr. Getso. So I'm going to use 2 people. The other day we saw a video, some videos were circulating online about the NSA, well, more like saying that the terrorists were, you know, brothers or something of that. I don't want to quote since I don't want to be quoted on that. But what I'm saying is that sometimes it looks like within the same system, within the security architecture, some persons have conciliatory approach. Conciliatory approach talking about, you know, this rehabilitation, repentance, and all of that. But if you look at the former chief of defense, who is now the minister of defense, his position is not conciliatory. His position is clearly using the might of the state. So do you think sometimes that the discordant posturing in terms of whether we go conciliatory or by might with the people in charge of our security is part of why we're dealing with the problem we're dealing with, and we're not getting the kind of results we should be getting?
I don't really believe in anything reconciliatory because as far as I'm concerned, that is a deceit. That is a cheat. So if government have any policy talking on that, I think we are being very unsincere and very kind of being disappointed with the people we are leading. Simply because years before Ahmed Gumi talked about that all these criminals are known, I had made mentioned it at various interviews I had at the national and international level, and through the articles I presented at various conferences and so on and so forth. So I believe waiting for any reconciliation or any rehabilitation, I think we are deceiving ourselves. The reality is there are some people probably within the system. I mentioned a word and I'm going to repeat it, and that's my position. And I'll repeat it to anybody, either eyeball to eyeball or on any discussion, that Nigerian government is intentionally refusing to address insecurity in Nigeria. It's intentional. We are refusing because we know the complicits, we know the criminals, we know their locations. You can profile them by polling units, by political ward, by local government constituency, by state assembly constituency. I have made a submission to 9th, to 8th, 9th, and 10th assembly, providing some relevant profiling information about all those who are terrorizing most areas of the northwestern part of the country and north central part of the country. And to some extent, in recent time, I was in 48 local government in 7 states of the most of the northeastern part of the country. And I believe that most of the formations and locations of the Boko Haram and their hideouts and even the so-called mountains, whatever, can be profiled and can be handled. So I think we need to be very, very careful. We need to be honest and sincere. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu promised Nigerians that his government is going to provide security. Now I'm sending a reminder to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and those he has assigned with the responsibility of managing the security to revisit that policy and also revisit many of his statements. I don't think we are really being honest and sincere when we are talking about reconciliation. The policy should go direct in handling whosoever is holding arms illegally. Because as far as you cannot manage the armed proliferation and you cannot manage the arms in the wrong hands, you will never get it right. So you can't have any dialogue session. Okay. You can't, there is no way you can have any dialogue or any reconciliation with someone to go back to the forest with his arm, AK-47 and the rest of it. The mistake made by Katsina State government to northern Nigeria and to Nigeria as a whole, the gap created for that 3 months so-called dialogue, it has created and given an enabling opportunity for these guys to have possessed and be able to procure and purchase massive arms that they were unable to purchase and procure in the last 10 days before the so-called reconciliation and dialogues. So are we really talking sense? We are empowering these guys, and we have a record that even some governors are even providing logistic support. I have evidence, I have records, whereby one of the governors provided 25 motorcycles to vigilante and also 25 motorcycles to the criminals after the so-called dialogue here and there. So we have all these issues. We must be able to hold people accountable. Catch me everywhere. I said it, I'm repeating myself. That we are intentionally refusing.
Yes, Mr.
Because we know where the head of the net is, but rather we are hitting the wood.
Mr. Getso, you made an allegation. Which government is that you're talking about?
Well, when it is very necessary, I'm ready to mention it. I don't think it's something that we discuss at the public. But I know if the governor is watching me, or if the commissioner from the state is watching me, or if other people who are in the state who knows what happens, they know. And when it is necessary, I can be able to provide the information.
You know why I was doubling down, Mr. Getso? So if we are trying to kill these people, because that's the right thing to do, kill them. They are killing our people. That's why we have our army, except the surrender. And you have information to the fact that government is giving them a means of mobility. The people deserve to know, don't you think so?
Yes, of course. The people deserve to know. But maybe since it was not done in a public, is something that they have done, but we have the information and I have evidence. And I believe in what I'm saying, and I'm repeating myself. And I'm ready to say it before any other person, because I have the proven evidence, and I believe it happens. And some of the security managers in the country, they know there are some of the things that are being done. We know if at all we are ready.
We'll get to the root of it.
We are intentionally refusing to handle it.
You've made very strong points and strong allegations. Government unwilling to tackle this, which is why my question is apt around conciliatory and might in this sense, which is discordant tone, giving us disastrous results. Yahuza Getso is an intelligence and security consultant. Thank you, sir, for coming, as well as Captain Bishop Johnson, retired U.S. Army veteran. Thank you, sir, for coming as well. We appreciate you both. From national security, we'll go local to what has played out in Amasiri and Osaida community. We've had Amasiri people, and then we want to have Osaida people who haven't spoken since this incident in Ebonyi State. So let's get to hear from their side as to what is playing out with the killing that happened in their community that led to some decisions by the state government to act swiftly on Amasiri communities. Stay with us.